You're tuned in to the Restaurant Rockstars podcast. Powerful ideas to rock your restaurant. Here's your host, Roger Bodwin.
Hey there, welcome back. It's Roger, and we've got something in common, a passion for running really great restaurants. But what a challenging business. Might even be the toughest to succeed. But as always, I've got your back. Actually, we've got your back. Frequently, I get together with my friend Jamie Oikel of runningrestaurants.com, and we riff on some of the tough issues facing your business and the solutions to succeed. Everyone wants success for their restaurant, but it's all about inspiration and execution. You've heard that phrase, inspiration is only 10% of it. Well, that's true. It's all in the execution. So here are 3 things to do today to execute, to build the solid foundation for your restaurant's success. Give it a listen.
Hey everyone, it's Jamie Oikel from runningrestaurants.com along with Roger Bodwin from restaurantrockstars.com. What's going on, Roger?
Good morning, James. Just ready to rock and roll. It's another great day.
Absolutely it is. Listen, for folks that listen to Roger and I, we've done a bunch of calls together, covered a whole lot of topics from menu planning to marketing to cost management and service and people, everything in between. The calls are always great. Roger gives great tips and so forth that operators can just use and take. And so what I thought would be fun and a little bit different is something on the shorter side where you can listen to this, jump off the phone, jump off the line, jump off the web, and you can use it right away. Walk into your team, have a meeting, and use this stuff right away. So I asked Roger, what are 3 things that if I was a restaurant owner or operator or manager that I should do today in my restaurant? So what are 3 things that I should do in my restaurant today? And so let's talk about, Roger, what do you have for number 1?
Well, I've always been a huge believer, James, in building affinity, with your customer, because that is the cornerstone of building a strong, powerful restaurant brand. So what I mean by that is I, as the owner, were constantly working the floor and acknowledging and recognizing and chatting with my tables. And I was also doing the same thing in the bar. It's very, very important as the owner to be a really strong presence and not just be kind of running around behind the scenes. It's a chaotic, crazy business sometimes, and a manager or an owner has 1,000 details on their plate, but it is super important to recognize and build affinity and make friends with your customers. And when you're not doing that, you should train all of your management team, whether it's your bar manager, your host manager, or a dining room manager, your front of house person, to do the very same thing. Because again, it's a competitive advantage to be a really, really strong business builder, customer builder, and making friends with your customers. Super important.
You talk about a strong presence, and I like that phrase. But what is a couple of key ways you can have a conversation with folks that's not awkward? Like we were out dining last night, and a manager kind of popped by and did the head nod, everything okay sort of thing, which of course we just we nod yes instead of getting into it. But how can you really engage?
Yeah, you're making a really great point there, because that is really, really awkward when you're approaching a table just to say, is everything okay? That's not really what it's about. It's about thanking them. It's about recognizing them. It's about treating them as if they're an old friend, even if you've never met them before. Just introducing yourself, saying, hey, I'm Roger, I'm the owner. Thanks so much for coming in. Where are you folks from? I'm really glad you came. And just small talk, just chit-chat at the table, and not being obtrusive, just being genuinely friendly and authentic and caring, and saying, is there anything I can do to make your experience better, or is there anything I can do for you right now? I'm really happy you're here. What can we do for you? That's sort of the spin, not is everything okay? And that happens so frequently. That's the difference. I go out to restaurants all the time, and that approach is typically what a manager does. He approaches the table, sort of tentatively, like I'm afraid to go up and see, because they might say, oh, my steak is burnt or something's wrong. No, you approach the table with a genuine thankfulness and recognition and treating every customer as if they're an old friend, even if you don't know them. That's what I always do.
Yeah, that was good, Roger. And if I was listening to this, I would have pressed the pause button, rewind, pause, rewind, and wrote down those 2 or 3 things you said. I really liked them as intros. Folks can use that. So use those kind of tools and those lines. I mean, if you're looking for scripts for your staff or yourself, a couple of good ideas right there. So number 2, Roger, you talk about catching your staff doing things right. What do you mean there, and how do you do that well?
Well, again, your staff is the backbone, the foundation of your restaurant, of any operation. And if you've done your job, and if you've hired correctly, and if you've trained and nurtured and developed that staff, again, to make friends with the customer, to give phenomenal service, to be, to have salesmanship so that you're making recommendations that you know your customers are going to enjoy. It's also super important to regularly praise and recognize and reward these people, because what you're trying to do is build what I always call the dream team staff. And you can't just take for granted the accomplishments and their everyday achievements. You need to catch them doing things right. So in addition to walking around the dining room and recognizing the customer, it's also super important to be present and to show and to lead by example, and then to constantly praise your people, whether it's in the kitchen, in the dish pit, or behind the bar, or at the host counter, or in the dining room. It's like just constantly catch people, thank them for the job they're doing, and then, we have a whole series of things we can talk about recognition and rewards, but it really does come down to simple praise. I mean, praise goes a long way with any employee, and it just shows that you care, that you're aware of what they're doing, and that you value them as employees, and that is just super important.
Yeah, I really do echo that, and I believe that. And people, the most thing that they want, of course, we want money and we want things like that, but people want recognition that they did a good job. We think it in our heads, oh, Sally's doing a great job, but we don't say it enough to them, and really people need to hear it. And yeah, Roger and I have covered some recognition ideas in some previous calls, and please look for that on the website. But without getting into a full presentation on that, if you had one idea, one quick tip on a recognition tool for somebody, what would you give them?
All right, so we had a super effective program in our restaurants. It was called Difference Dollars, and what that meant was every single week we recognized 2 people formally in front of the entire restaurant staff, and no one ever knew who was going to get recognized. And essentially what happens was during the week, myself or a manager would find out about a person that went above and beyond to either help a team member or to give a guest a great experience or to solve a customer problem, whatever it was, just going above and beyond the typical job to really just be a team player, okay? And that person, actually it was 2 people each week, were recognized in a program called Difference Dollars. So we would call the whole team together on a Saturday night before the shift started, and I would sort of get up on my soapbox and introduce the person and then talk about what they did that made a difference. We would give them a $20 bill and a can of Red Bull, and the whole team would clap and cheer, and and then business as usual, on it would go. And this would go on week after week after week throughout the season. And for $40 a week, it was such a small cost to me. Actually, it wasn't a cost. It was an investment in my team, because that was just one small thing we did to recognize and reward our people. And that really built this team spirit, this dream team staff. And that's one of the reasons why I virtually had no turnover in my restaurant, even though they were seasonal operations, open just 4 months a year. I had 95% retention rate year after year after year, because we built a family of staff that, 1, they had fun, 2, they were recognized and rewarded, 3, they made great money, and 4, their customers loved them. So those 4 things are really, really powerful things in a business that has such a huge turnover rate that costs your restaurant lots and lots of money. It would cost you far more money than $40 a week to lose these staff and to continually train new staff. So it's all about building that dream team, recognizing and rewarding and catching them doing things right. And that's one simple idea that any restaurant can do.
Yeah, anybody could do that one. That's really good, Roger. And what I really, really liked about it is you talk about doing it in front of everyone, and that's important, and then the clapping. And, yeah, for $40, are you kidding me? People feel great about it, so I absolutely love that, and would like to see people do that all over the place. All right, so let's take it home with number 3. What do you got for us as a third tip for the day?
Well, this one takes a little bit more time than the others, but it's absolutely critically important in any restaurant operation, because if you lose one key employee, let's say it's a grill cook, and we had a superstar grill cook. I mean, this guy could have 40 lose a key person like that. He gets run over by a bus, or he gets sick, or, he quits because of some reason. You never know, or whatever. It could be a manager, it could be a server, it could be a bar manager, a bartender, or line cook. It doesn't matter. So we put this program in place where in each department we cross-trained everybody to assume someone else's job, okay, so that the show must go on. So that means, we had dishwashers that could jump on the fry line and cook fries. We had saute guy that could then do the grill, and the grill guy could do the saute, and vice versa. And we did this across the restaurant. And it took a little time, and it took a little effort, and we did it after hours. But pretty soon, we had a restaurant that, like I said, it was a well-oiled machine. So even if we lost critical people, we had other people that could jump in and assume those jobs with competency, so the show would go on. And that was super important in our restaurant. And there were many times where someone couldn't come in, but it was no problem because someone else was able to jump in and do their gig. So we cross-trained across the whole restaurant.
Yeah, good, Roger. I really see where that can kick in for a restaurant. You don't want to, everybody has key guys, people that are great, but if you rely on them, something can happen from anything from a family disaster to a move to obviously, the worst case scenario, getting hit by a bus. So that one is definitely a longer term piece of your strategy. But if you were to take those three ideas, walking to your tables, being genuine, creating that affinity, the secondarily catching your staff doing great things and praising them and building that dream team so that you don't have turnovers, so that you're saving money in terms of that, and then having great staff, and then you start taking this longer term approach of cross training your staff. Where they can fill in for each other and build a stronger operation, you're going to be in great shape. So those are three tips we wanted to share with you guys this morning in terms of quick tips you can bring for your restaurant and other stuff you can bring to your strategy. Roger, really quickly, hit them with some things, some tools that they can reach you. Where can they find you on the web? Talk about your book real quickly and so forth.
Yeah, thank you, James. So I've got a book. It's called Rock Your Restaurant, and it's everything I've learned in, 23 years in this crazy restaurant business. But essentially, it is a system. It's a financial system that teaches owners and operators and chefs what their critical numbers are, how they find those numbers, what those numbers mean. And then I've got a series of 14 fully automated turnkey spreadsheets where you can simply plug these numbers in and it auto-calculates your food cost, your labor cost, your beverage cost. It's an inventory system. It's a product mix system to make sure that, the items that you're selling are the most profitable. It's a whole series of financial advice tools. It's audio tutorials that I walk you through all this stuff, make it super simple. And we just released an audio version of this book. If you like to listen in your car on the way to work, instead of, taking the time to read a book, it comes in 2 different versions. So that's available. You can put the link in your show notes, James, or however you choose to, but it's called Rock Your Restaurant. The whole thing Restaurant Rockstars started with a sales server training system that then morphed into a complete front of house training system that sort of choreographs the service between your hosts, your bussers, and your wait staff so that everyone is giving guests a great experience, making friends with your customers, and more importantly, not just leaving the order on the table, but not being order takers, being sales, telling your guests everything that's great about your restaurant, which has proven over time to double and even triple check averages. And then there's also that recognition and reward system included in Sales Stars. So you can check that out at restaurantsalesstars.com. And then finally, we put every single thing together about maximizing profits in a restaurant in something we call the Restaurant Rockstars Academy. It's 5 modules. It starts with logistics. If you're starting your first restaurant, it tells you everything you need to know. And I mean everything, whether you're leasing a space, buying an existing restaurant, basic accounting systems, all the insurances you need, working with bankers, writing a business plan, your chart of accounts, you name it, it's in Module 1. Module 2 is the complete financial training system. Module 3 is the whole sales training system for the front of house, recognition and rewards. Module 4 is all about internal marketing, which is using everything inside your restaurant to market your restaurant and saving money on advertising and traditional forms of advertising that I always believe is a shotgun approach. And then finally, the 5th module is all about putting efficiencies in place in your restaurant. So it's a power pack, and there's so many ideas in there that can literally make your restaurant tens of thousands of dollars extra per year. So it's just jam-packed with everything I learned with about rocking restaurants. So and you can find that at restaurantrockstarsacademy.com. That's about it. That's what we do. And I also do some personal consulting, as you know, James, on the side. If a restaurant really wants some specific help in any area, I'm always passionate and glad to help out. So they can reach me at my email, which is roger@restaurantrockstars.com. And I love to talk to people. No obligation, of course, but if you want to chat, just drop me a line and we'll chat.
Thanks for listening to the Restaurant Rockstars podcast. For lots of great resources, head over to restaurantrockstars.com. And while you're there, download a copy of the book, Rock Your Restaurant. It's a game changer. See you next time.